So welcome back. Today's video is all about, we're going to get into Filemaker here and into your store. Open it. Today's is all about invoicing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back. I wanted to show you something very quickly. I went ahead and populated these fields with the appropriate prices as we discussed in the last video. But something that I changed here with this, with the logo, I wanted to show you quickly. And so what I want to do is I want to go back to the launch page, and as you can see here on the launch page, we still have this box that is around our logo, and we'd kind of like to get rid of that. So we're going to go ahead and go to Edit Layout, and we're going to click on the box, and then we're going to click on the little eye so that we can show the inspector. Now the inspector you can move wherever you want to. Now what we're going to do here is we're looking at this right here, and it says line. We don't want a line there, we want nothing there, and so now basically when we go ahead and close this out and we click off, it will remove the line that was around it. We also made sure that we used a transparent logo, which was a PNG file, which allowed us to just place it right on there and look the way that it does. So today's deal is all about creating our invoice. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Layouts, and we're going to take the launch page, and we're going to click on the launch page, and we're going to duplicate the launch page. And now we're going to need to edit that launch page where it says launch page copy, because we don't want it to necessarily show records from the menu anymore. So what we'll call this is we will call this invoice 1. You can do invoice underscore 1 if you'd like, just so that you kind of know where it's going to. But here we really want it to be linked to our register. So just the first register, not register 2, but register. So we'll go ahead and click that, and we'll say OK. Now what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and close out of this, and we're going to go to that new page, and it should be invoice 1. I'll go there. And we want to make sure that before we start making any changes that we're actually on the layout invoice 1, because a lot of times you will find that you make changes and then it doesn't really make those changes for you. You'll go someplace and be like, whoa, what's going on? So I'm just going to highlight all of those, and then I'm going to delete them because we don't need them. And then over here in the far corner, I'm going to do a current zoom level, and it says 100. We're going to push it down to about 75. The second that you click it once, it basically shoots it down to 75. That way we can see, we can kind of get a better overview of what it is that we're looking for. Now what we need to do is we need to go up to the top here, and we need to find the portal tool. And we click on the portal tool. And then we're just going to go ahead and drag us in a box. And we want that box to go almost all the way down the bottom, but not all the way to the bottom. And the reason why is because we're going to put a few things underneath there. And so let's drag it out. Let's see, make it nice, big. Okay, so it's going to want to know what related records that you want to show. Well, the only thing that is related to this through those when we were in managing our database and we related this was to the invoice. That's a sort, pull, roll, filter the sections. We don't need that. Allow deletion of portal records. You could do that if you wanted to. I don't necessarily want to. It shows that we've got 14 rows here, and starting with your initial row 1. And then we're going to use active row state or use the alternative row state. Either of those is fine. I think we're good with that, so we're just going to go ahead and click that. And now what it's going to do is it's going to bring up this list. And the list is basically asking us what do you actually want to see in there? So we're going to double click on product ID because we want to see the product ID, we want to see the product name, we want to see the quantity, we want to see the price, we want to see the price no tax, and this calculated price is, so we need those, and those are good. So we'll go ahead and click that, and as you can see, it automatically populated this field. So we can click on those, and your product ID is basically 4 numbers, and so we're just going to kind of get it down to where we can see, you can see it says PROD. You know, now we know that it will actually hold 4 numerals or 4 numbers. The product name actually needs to be pretty big. The quantity actually needs to be pretty small. You're never going to get more than 2. So I usually just take it down to where I can see the QU. Now I know that I will be able to hold 2, and I like to put it in the dead center. The price, I know as long as I can see the word price and the word price doesn't disappear, then I will be able to, I'll have adequate room to actually put the price in there. I like to center all of these. The price no tax, all the same, just where you can just see the word price, just as it disappears, bring it back, center it. And then this one is the calculated price, and so you're just going to go down to where you, about the I, you might go ahead and add the C in there and click on that. Now, one thing that you're going to have is you're going to have these spaces in between all of these, and you kind of don't want those spaces. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go down here. We're going to zoom in a little bit so we can see where the heck we are. We're going to push this one over until it touches that. And this one, we're going to leave it right where it is. I'm going to push this one over, and you'll notice a little blue bar will light up right here on the side that tells me that I'm touching the other one. And then this price, I'm going to push it over, and you can see the little blue bar. And then this is our quantity. Now, what we want to do with the quantity, this is where it gets to be interesting. So we really want to add a button here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add just a very small button. There we go, very small button. And we're going to just press Shift X, and we're going to call that good, and we're going to make it bold. Now what we want to do is we want to grab it, and we want to make sure that we get it dead in the center, on the center line, and we're going to push it all the way over until it touches the price. We're going to push our quantity all the way over to where it touches, gets close to that button. Now you can see where they're right dead smack touching each other. And now the product name, because the product name is going to be really long, 9 out of 10 times it's going to be pretty long. So there we go. Now we need to just go ahead and we need to add some text to these. So we'll put, we'll make one that says ID semicolon, click off of it, move it to where it touches that. Now control, and we're going to drag it over to where it touches this one. Where is it? There it is. And this one's going to be, we're just going to sum it up as product semicolon. And then we're going to keep these on the same line. We're going to come all over here until it touches that edge, and then just QNTY. Quantity, because we need this to be really small for right where we are basically. And this time I lined them up right dead in the centers. And I'm going to control and drag again until I get in the center, and I'm going to put price. Click off, make sure it's in the dead center by moving it over just a little bit. Control, drag. And this one is this is price no tax. So, and this is the the total price or the extended price. So you can either do, I like to just do ext semicolon, and I know that that is the extended price, and then move it to the center. I like to keep these pretty much very nominal as to what they actually are. So, and this one you can just do non-tax, because you've got some room there to basically manipulate. So there you go. Now you can grab, if you want to reduce these all down, you can grab the whole thing and you can move it, all of it where you want to move it, so you get some space in there. And we'll increase it. Now this is actually going to be a button that we're going to create to remove product when it is in this, let's say you touch a hot dog and someone says, and this line says hot dog quantity 10 or whatever, and somebody's like, well, I really don't want that hot dog, or I don't want one of those hot dogs, I only wanted 9. What this button can do, what you can program it to do, is to remove all of them and just start all over again, which is probably the wisest thing to do. Or you can have it just remove just one of the line, and then they can push it several times, and then when if the line were empty and there were no quantity here, that it would say, oops, you can't erase something that does not exist. Now what we need to do at this point is we need to go ahead and take our field picker, and we're going to go to the related table of invoice. And something that we want to do is because we have these sub categories, and this is where it's kind of nice, because when you do like a subtotal price no tax, see, you can, I like to select no label, bring it down here and just kind of drop it off at the bottom. And then we also have the subtotal as well, which would be the subtotal of the calculated price. Now, if you're not really sure, you can click on something and you can manage this. You can go to the subtotal, which is the total of, as you can see, it's the summary total of the calculated price. So we can say good for that, and that way we know, okay, this is the one that we're actually looking for. We're going to line them up really well, and we're going to stick it right there. Now there are some interesting things that we do need to discuss right off the bat. One thing is, you don't want anyone to change what these buttons do. So what I'm going to do is, you don't want someone to be able to just touch it and then make a change on it, because that would be bad. That means that people could actually, your cashiers could actually take product from you by just erasing it, and you don't want to do that. You especially don't want to lose any of your data. So all the fields that you don't want them to be able to make changes to, take it off. Uncheck the browse mode. So we'll go here. We don't want them to change the name. We don't want them to be able to change the quantity. We don't want them to be able to change the price of any of this stuff. Absolutely nothing. We don't want our user or our cashier to have access to that. And frankly, we don't want to have access to it. Because once you start to be able to make changes to the prices or to the quantities or to other things, you can very quickly and accidentally basically really mess things up. And we don't want to do that. Now, this field, what we could do is, if we wanted to, we could extend this and make it bigger, or we could leave it the same size that it is. It doesn't really matter. One thing that we're going to do right off the bat is we're going to make 3 buttons, and these buttons are going to be for the particular action that we want to happen. So This one is a cash button, and I'm going to go ahead and change that to 18th century. Let's see, 36. Yeah, 36 probably. 36 looks pretty good. And what I'm doing now is I'm wanting to make all of my changes to the first box because I'm going to duplicate that box. So in the appearance section, I am going to fill none. Oh, that's because I'm not actually clicked on a box. Okay, so here we go. I like the lighted bottom because it just looks cool, and then you can change the various colors. You can change the ring color if you want to, which is really nice. So a cash button we can have is a blue button, and the other ones we can change the ring on to make them stand out. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold the control button and we're just going to drag. So whenever you hear me say control drag, that's kind of what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just take your button and drag it out. Now, as you can tell, this is going to be difficult to get these all lined up. So we go to the position, and we're going to align on vertical centers, and we're going to distribute vertically. And it just so happens that they were actually quite perfect. This button, we are going to rename it to credit. And look at that. Look what happened to my button when I did that. So let's go to the appearance, and let's go to our buffers. And as you've seen before in the past, those buffers will get you every single time. So now the problem is, look at the difference in these. These are completely different, and now I've just messed them all up, and that just is horrible. We certainly don't want that to be part of our deal, so we're just going to go ahead and fix these all right now. But this one is different than this one. So let's go to position, and we're going to look at this one. This one is 137 by 65. This one is 137 by 80. So let's change it to 65 and click off, and voila, it fixed it. This one, we're going to double click really quick, and we're just going to call this split. And the split is basically for a split payment. Let's say we wanted to split the payment. So the appearance, I think I'm going to leave cash just the way it is, and I'm going to go to the credit one, and I'm going to put a bright red ring around it, and I'm going to make it let's make it a 2, so it's very standouty. And the split payment, I'm going to make that a bright green color. I'm going to make it a 2, so it kind of stands out. See how that stands out? It's totally easy for someone to pick up on these and say, hey, I get it. So the primary issue that we did, though, is we created these first, when we probably shouldn't have, because what we really wanted to do is we wanted to create a popover button and not a button. So we kind of made a mistake doing that. No big deal, though. We already know what we're doing, and we know how that we want to do it. So we will leave the popover you're probably going to want on that side, and you can call your popover. Oop. I think my fingers are faster than anything else. So, okay, the cool thing about a popover is we can close it for now. We don't necessarily have to have it. And if you remember what we did before, we were on there, we went to 36, we went to 18th century, and now we need to go to our buffers in the appearance, and we need to delete those buffers, make them zeros. That'll put it right dead in the center. And so there it is. Now we can make them all look exactly like this in the layout. Now, I like the size of this button, and I really like the way that this button was made, so I'm just going to go ahead and recreate that button. So this one, we know that the position and the style was 137 by 65, so this one we can basically make a 137 by 65, and now it's identical to this button, other than we need to change its overall appearance. I'll go over here, lighten the bottom up nice. Now, if we're going to do this, we probably ought to put a beautiful color so that they all have a color on them. And now what we're going to do is we're going to move this field picker over here, and we're going to scroll down a little bit. We're going to get rid of these, delete, and we're going to grab this one, and we're going to use the control button, bring it down, and do it again. This one we'll click twice on, and we're going to call this one credit. And this one we will call split for split pay. And you can leave them all the same if you want to, and then just put verification windows in there, which is just fine. Which is what we will very much likely do anyway, is create the verification windows. But for now, let's not worry about the popovers. The reason why we're putting the popovers on there is because when you press a button, I want it to do one of two things. I want it to either go ahead and enact the sale, or I want it to cancel the sale. So that's why we're putting the popover in there, is because that way we can put two buttons inside of the popover. And you can say verify this is a credit sale, and then cancel this sale altogether, and it will cancel the sale altogether. So this one, the ring color that we're going to use is red, and this one, the ring color that we're going to use, and this one is, we're going to do a light green. How's that look? Very colorful. And the cool thing about doing something like this is it doesn't take a lot of your space. It doesn't take a lot of your memory to create something like that. So it's not going to truly affect how your system runs, which is very nice. Now some of the other things that we're going to need to do. So we can take this and we can move them pretty much anywhere you want to. So let's put them over here. Now here is where we're going to do our calculations. So we're going to do the field picker. Going to pick the invoice, because you can add these anywhere you want to. We're going to make sure that we're not going to get any labels. You can get a label if you want to, and you can put it on the side if you want to, but just remember, if you do that, like if you pick this label and you come over here and you say I want this duplicit button over here, it's going to add what the name of the file was.